Hello everyone and welcome to the second episode of The Outsider's Perspective, a series where I'll be talking about political, social, and economical changes with an objective point of view, all the while challenging the ideas of everyone around me. Today, I've got a rather interesting topic: firearms, or the more well-known term, guns. Now, should note, as this series has gone and hopefully always will go on as, I will take the most objective outlook I possibly can to this subject, to give it the outsider's perspective. First, if you somehow do not know what the Second Amendment in America is, it reads as follows: a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to bear arms shall not be infringed. Or more precisely, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Notice all the pauses after certain words, with those commas. Our Second Amendment in America, our right to bear arms, was written in such a way to have us realize that each section, each segment, has their own meaning. Speaking of which, let's get right into it. The first segment is a well-regulated militia. But who regulates that? Well, the next part says, being necessary to the security of a free state, which means the state and the people within that state regulate their own militia in order to maintain the freedom that they have from the federal government, essentially. By this logic, if what I say is true, if an entire state truly wants to ban guns, they could, if the last line/segment didn't exist. The next line is the right of the people to keep and bear arms. This basically reinforces what I've already said. This says that you as a person in America, as an American citizen, have the right to keep and bear a firearm, a gun, to protect yourself from whatever you think you might need to protect yourself from. With the final section, the final line, shall not be infringed. Meaning, if an entire state really did want to, the last line would make that change unconstitutional. The entire state wanting to ban guns would be unconstitutional by our Second Amendment. Which now begs the question, how much has the Second Amendment already been infringed upon? For this video and this conversation, I'm going to use my current home state, California. According to the NRA-ILA, link in the description below, California does indeed allow you to have firearms, but you may notice the pound sign on some of these firearms, and notice the articles on the right side. California Senate okays bill raising the age to buy rifles and shotguns from 18 to 21. We'll be touching on this topic a little bit later, but just keep note of it. But in California, I can have rifles, handguns, and shotguns, but there's a little bit more to it. See below this little list here is a section about what those pound signs mean. As of January 1st, 2015, a firearms safety certificate is generally required to purchase or acquire a firearm. A currently held, valid handgun license may still be used to purchase or acquire a handgun until it expires, which means I now need to have a proper license before I can purchase a gun. That means training, money, probably a test, and if I fail it, I gotta do that all over again. But I'm sure that a majority of the population, both left-leaning and right-leaning, can agree that this is a good idea and has done more good than bad. However, by the very definition of the word infringed is to, and I quote, actively break the terms of a law, agreement, etc., or act so as to limit or undermine something, encroach on. We can argue that this limits my ability to get a gun. As I just stated, I'd have to get training, licensing, probably have to go to some sort of building, have some teachers, etc., etc. But for the sake of this video, I will say that we all agree this does not infringe on my Second Amendment. The second pound sign means that the Department of Justice will record all purchases from dealers from those said guns. Residents moving into California have 60 days to register their firearms, which 100% goes under the statement of a well-regulated militia. It's the state's like, okay, if you're going to purchase this gun, alright, we keep you in a database. We know you have X gun with X ammo. However, I want you to ask yourself, what would happen if I bought a gun from Texas, moved to California, and didn't register the gun? I would have SWAT, policemen, perhaps even military, forced their way into my house, possibly arrest me, whatever family I might have, take the guns from me, perhaps fine me, and put me in jail time for all we know. That, I believe, infringes on the Second Amendment. It's my right to bear arms. It is not your right to be able to go through my house to forcefully take away a gun that I have legally purchased in a different state. Now, some states have different rules when it comes to that, but in California, it specifically says moving into California, you have 60 days to register those firearms. The final segment of this article, the part I 100% believe that would infringe on my Second Amendment. On June 29, 2017, a federal district court blocked the enforcement of California's new ban on possession of magazines with a capacity of more than 10 rounds. The ban was set to go into effect on July 1st, but implementation is now delayed while the court is having their discussion. So, the courts have said no to this, which means I shouldn't complain about this. But I have to ask the question, why would California think this is a good thing? Or even think to do such a thing if it so clearly would infringe on my Second Amendment? Now, some could argue that magazines and ammo are not part of the Second Amendment, not part of that protected right to bear arms. It never says anything about ammo, it just says the right to have your weapon. I disagree. I believe a magazine, clips, and ammo are all part of the gun, or the firearm. If you get rid of that, you have an incompleted weapon. You cannot use it to protect yourself. But real quickly, before I advance towards the more gun control aspects and the pros and cons of such things, I want to very quickly discuss the age of when I get a firearm. Many sources, and I'll just use a quick Google search for this one, makes the age be 21 for handguns and 18 for rifles and shotguns in most places. Some states have different rules. Some it's 18 for all those weapons. Some it can be 21 for all those weapons, like they're trying to do in California. But how come I'm considered to be an adult in the eyes of the law? I can vote, I can enlist in the military, I'm expected to go live off on my own, with my own job, even own land if someone was crazy enough to sell me that land, but I'm not expected to be allowed to have a firearm to protect myself. In those states where 21 is the legal age. What? I can own a shotgun and hunting rifle, but I can't own a pistol. Or I can't own any of those. This, to me, is 100% infringement on Second Amendment rights. Imagine if someone said to you, yeah, we're going to trial you as an adult, but you can't actually have all the privileges and responsibilities that come with an adult, but you're going to get the jail time of an adult. What? You would ask, or I'd hope you would ask, well, why? Clearly I'm an adult in the eyes of the court, but I'm not at the same time. I've spent so much time on this little topic here, I think the point has been made. It's just like, it makes no sense to me how you can raise the age of firearm holding to 21, yet you're expected to vote, go to college, have jobs, have a car at 18. You're expected to be an adult and an American citizen at 18, paying taxes, etc., but you're not allowed to have weapons to protect yourself with. That just makes no sense. So California has indeed tried to pass gun legislation to raise the age of buying shotguns and rifles aged 21. Many people have reported this, and when I made this video, it was hardly a day ago. They all report a universal fact. They want to increase the age of when we can purchase these guns and decrease how many we are allowed to purchase. This, once again, in my eyes, as I try to be an outsider, 100% infringes on the Second Amendment. You're going to trial me as an adult, act like I'm an adult, expect me to do all the things that citizens and adults are supposed to do, then say, oh wait, you can't do that, or that, is just inconsistent. So real quick, a little bit of pros and cons about gun control and no gun control. We've seen gun control work in certain countries. For example, in the UK, the gun control did work for a little bit. Germany, and most of the EU, gun control indeed did work. Just a little bit. It wasn't a lot. It didn't actually change many statistics. It simply changed how many were dying to guns. Most of the time, the statistic would be shifting to a different tool. I don't have any sources for this right now, but I've already done this debate before, and I will gladly bring these sources back up if someone wants to challenge me on that. Australia is a prime example as well of gun control having a useful effect, and oftentimes is the big look at Australia, all their homicide rates went down when they banned guns. Clearly, it works. What they don't tell you is Australia's arso attacks. They had a lot of arsos burning buildings down and burning people alive. They don't tell you that Canada has had a guy run through their buildings with a truck. They don't tell you in the UK a guy has ran through a crowd of people with a truck and used acid. They don't tell you that in Japan there was a massive gas attack during rush hour. They don't tell you that in Japan there was a massive katana killing of a school. They don't tell you these things. So the pros of gun control is, yes, limiting gun deaths, as obviously when the citizens give away their guns they can't shoot themselves in the head, which is a lot of that gun death comes from, is suicides. But the cons of gun control are so clear. You have people who want to do evil and kill are just going to do it. Regardless of whatever means they have, they will just do it. It makes it so I'm unable to protect myself from the government if it ever went rogue. And looking at the EU right now, and making this video, as I'm making this video, the EU has just passed, or trying to pass legislation to like ban people from having links in their videos. Like they're going full 1984 George Orwell, and they have no weapons to protect themselves with. They can't stand up. They can't fight. So yes, you could say I'm paranoid, believing that I need the Second Amendment to protect myself from the government, but the way I see it is healthy paranoia. So the cons is that you can't protect yourself from the government, can't protect yourself from criminals, can't protect yourself from robbers, can't protect yourself from muggers, rapists, etc., etc. But then what's the other side of the coin, where guns are allowed everywhere? Well, Switzerland has one of the lowest homicide rates in the world, and it's one of the safest places to live. And they have mandatory, everyone must have a gun. Now, given Switzerland is smaller, and thus less crime can happen, and less murder can happen. But, again, if someone wants to challenge me on this, I'll gladly make a video discussing statistics for gun control. As of right now, though, this is about the Second Amendment being infringed upon, and I talk about the pros and cons. I believe that the pros and cons of gun control outweigh each other. The cons of gun control are so fatal compared to the pros of gun control, which don't really do that much, where the other side of the coin, where everyone has guns, Switzerland has like no death rates, no homicide rates. They are the safest place to live in the world, according to some sources. And America is a good example. There's a lot of, like Texas, although recently had a school problem, Texas has a lot of guns, low crime rates, compared to somewhere like Houston, where it has complete strict gun control laws and has the most violence of any major city. Don't quote me on that. That one I'm not sure on. However, I now ask you, listener, how free do you think our Second Amendment truly is? Do you believe it is under attack? Are you pro-gun, anti-gun? Either side that you're on, I want to see your perspective on this gun conversation. As California has recently done these changes, or attempting to do these changes, I would like to see what you people believe and think about this. Let's start a real conversation here and get somewhere with it. This is Mr. Wright, signing out. See you all next time.